All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Thermal Gard Podcast. And today, per usual, we have another rock star guest on, a local entrepreneur, Jennifer Brogee. Thanks for coming on, Jennifer.
Yes, happy to be here. Excited.
Yes. So honestly, I just want to dive right into it.
Yeah.
Can you tell us kind of where you're from and kind of your upbringing?
Oh, wow. We're getting deep already.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm originally from Berrien Springs, Michigan, which is an amazing but small town in southwestern Michigan, just 20 minutes from Lake Michigan. And I really do kind of miss it. But I came to Lima when I was a teenager. So I could also claim Lima as my home.
Gotcha. So did you go to high school here then?
Yeah, I graduated from Shawnee High School.
Shawnee. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. All right. So Shawnee, you moved here. Why'd you guys move here?
Well, my parents are entrepreneurs. So my mom had become one of the top Tupperware salespeople in the country. And so they offered her a Tupperware distributorship, which means that they managed a warehouse here in Lima and trained the sales force. And so that is why we moved here.
That is amazing. So your mom, I mean, had to be a heck of a salesman because that was door-to-door sales, correct?
Yeah. I mean, well, it was a lot of cold calling, and then she would host parties and get referrals.
Okay.
So.
What was the best advice as far as sales-wise that your mom ever gave you?
Oh, good question. I guess I'd have to pick two, if that's okay.
Yeah.
The first one is know your product really well and just try to solve people's problems. You know, so it's not about selling per se, it's about matching people's problems with your product. And then the second one is never ask a question with a yes or no answer. Always ask a question that has more of a detailed answer so that they can't say no easily.
That's amazing. Amazing advice.
Yeah.
All right. Take us into the next few years. After high school, what'd you do?
Oh, okay. Well, I went to Anderson University in Indiana. I got a degree in business management because I wanted to use entrepreneurship as a force for good. So I was very idealistic. I wanted to get involved in starting up new businesses. But actually, when I graduated, I, first of all, didn't know how to apply for jobs. And secondly, it wasn't the greatest job market in the world. So I ended up becoming a computer programmer.
Okay. We got to unpack that a little bit because nobody like goes to college and they're like, yeah, I want to be an entrepreneur and do a bunch of startups. Like, so how did you get there and what gave you that passion?
Well, I went through a lot of majors in college. My first major was journalism. And I actually was a social work major at one point, and we went to Chicago. And we stayed in like a community development center. We kind of slept on the floor for the weekend. And I remember they took us to visit Cabrini Green. Are you familiar with Cabrini Green at all? Mm-hmm. It was a huge government housing project on the south side of Chicago. Unfortunately, it was the poster child for the worst government housing projects in the country. And so when we visited there and we drove through like the nearby town square, because, you know, there's a lot of smaller towns that have been engulfed into Chicago, I noticed how many empty storefronts there were. And just, I guess it came to light how impactful economic development is to the whole community fabric and the social infrastructure and the community feeling of community. And that area had completely lost all of that. And so it just kind of showcased to me the power of business.
Gotcha. So right then, that trip, the fire was ignited.
Yes.
And that set you off on your journey. That's amazing.
It did help that my parents were entrepreneurs as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So.
Okay. So you go to college, business management,
mm-hmm.
You know, you go into computer programming. So walk us through some of that. I mean, seems like a huge difference.
It is. Like I said, I didn't know how to apply to jobs. So I think it was about like the fourth job interview I had, and I was getting panicky. And they offered me a salary. They were in a big building in downtown Indianapolis, and I was like, sounds good. Sign me up. So I took a test. They make you take a test before they will give you a job offer. And accepted the job offer, and I was all excited because my husband and I, then we were just getting married that summer, and We had a little apartment right in the city in downtown Indianapolis, and I would walk 2 blocks to American States Insurance down the road.
That's amazing. How'd you meet your husband?
Wow, you are just getting into the deep questions here. I love it. I love it. My husband and I met at a Marine ball. I was his best friend's date.
That is incredible. Okay, so your husband's a military man.
Yes.
So how long were you guys together for before you got married?
We met my junior year of college, and we got married right after I graduated. So just about a year and a half.
Okay, how long you guys been married now?
Let's see, what year is this? This is 2025. 29 years.
What advice do you have for everybody listening?
Good question. Let's see. Well, don't be selfish. You just can't be selfish in a marriage. You have to think of the other person first.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been the best advice. And then try to do things that are fun and don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah. That's amazing advice. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. So you're in Indianapolis. You're now a computer programmer.
Mm-hmm.
Walk us through those years.
Yeah. So I landed in a cubicle farm. I was on, I think, the 4th floor of the building. There were like 200 to 300 people, all in a giant room with cubicles. And it was so funny because like the supervisors or the assistant managers would have a little bit bigger cubicle, then the managers would have a little bit bigger, and then the directors actually had a really big cubicle. And they were just kind of weird about it. They actually blocked the windows to the outside so that it would be fair, so that nobody could have a cubicle with a window.
Wow.
It was wild. A very weird experience. But I learned COBOL from videos. They made us watch videos from the 70s. So I learned how to code in COBOL and some other machine languages. I enjoyed coding, but I just didn't really like working in the corporate environment. So even though they did, thankfully, promote me and doubled my salary, I didn't really want to be there anymore. So I came home. It just was... wasn't interesting enough. It was too constrained. I needed more freedom in my work. At least that's the way I prefer to work. I'm not saying that it's better that way. It's just the way I'm made. And I just couldn't, I wasn't enjoying dealing with all the constraints of the corporate environment.
Yeah. It's amazing. All right. So you come home.
Yeah.
How many years were you there in Indianapolis?
I was only there like less than 2 years.
Okay. Gotcha. So you come home. What's next?
Okay. So I come home. I worked as a temp for a while. It was kind of interesting. I helped BP shut down the refinery, which of course then ended up not shutting down. And that was kind of an interesting experience. But during that time, I started my first software company. So as a temp, I was helping out the local crime victim services organization here in town and they had created software. I modified it for them. And then I converted that into software that could be sold throughout the state of Ohio for other crime victim services organizations, and they fully supported me in that. So they invited me to the state conference, and I was able to sell my software there. I would mail floppy disks to people who bought my software, and then my home phone was the support desk. So that was the first thing that I did, and then after that, that wasn't like a full-time gig. So I landed at a company that was an HR company called HR Services, and with that company, we would help large corporations like Procter & Gamble hire people. So we would process thousands of job applications a week, depending on who was hiring. And during that time, I was in charge of marketing and kind of just helping with everything out. And I had to fax a lot. So I don't know if you guys know what faxing is,
yes.
But it's putting a document in a machine, and then it goes through the phone lines, and the other machine, wherever it's going, prints it out. I told this story to some of my students the other day, and they had no idea what a fax machine was. And I was like, I got tired of faxing. So I got a disc in the mail from Microsoft that said, hey, try this new software. You can make like a web server, and you can make a website. So I used that software to create an online applicant tracking system for our customers so that they could look up all the job application data on the internet. And that we decided after a year, I think, that was a good product that other companies might want. So we then pivoted and became a technology company at that point. So that was about 1999, 2000. That company became a technology company. We called it My Staffing Pro. And then I served as the leader of technology there for 15 years.
Gotcha. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there.
Okay.
Let's go back to the crime victim services. Did anybody tell you to go make that software and to start selling it, or did you just do that on your own?
I honestly don't remember. I mean, it's possible that David Voth, who was the director, was kind of nudged me in that direction. Or he said, hey, this other organization wants help in a nearby county. I think that's what happened. He said, hey, this other county needs help. And I said, I don't really want to do individual consulting without these organizations. So instead, I created a software that they could install on their own, so I didn't have to recreate the wheel every time.
Gotcha.
I think that speaks back to your, find a solution to a problem as opposed to sell a product.
Yes.
Yeah. It's an interesting connection there.
Yeah, that is a good point.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so one thing when I listen to that, my initial reaction is that shows so much initiative and ownership that seems to be lacking a lot today in the workforce, and a lot of big organizations are fighting these issues. What advice would you have for these giant organizations, just based on your own early experience and how you were kind of against the grain for what's normal today?
I think that you do have to give your employees some freedom and autonomy. So you need to give them space. I love what Google does, where they set aside a day. I don't know how often they do it anymore, if it's a day a month, where they just let their engineers kind of experiment with things. And I really feel like that is what could help corporations. They can have their goals and their metrics, but they need to set aside time where there's no goals and no metrics. There's just free form work.
Interesting. That's really good advice. I think a lot more people should implement that.
Thank you. I think so too. And I definitely would want to work at a place like that versus a place where every minute is planned.
Right.
Regimented and scheduled out.
Yeah, exactly. So it was My Staffing Pro, correct,
Yes.
is what it turned into. Can you take us through, you were obviously in leadership there. You grew the company massively. I mean, the .com boom is huge. So that was you guys. Walk us through those years and then your kind of evolution as a leader, and what was successful, what were some failures?
Oh, good question. Yeah, those are great questions. Well, I was very naive about leadership then. I just wanted to do my job and solve problems, honestly. I didn't really think of myself as a leader. Thankfully, Bob Schulte recognized the reality. Bob Schulte Jr., he was part of HR Services, the HR company, and he recognized the value of what we had created in terms of the software. So he really pushed to build that, and then he pushed to establish a new company. He also pushed me to be a leader. So I honestly kind of resisted that a little bit because I didn't want that much responsibility. But as we grew, we needed to hire more people. And so I just naturally became the CIO of the company at that point. So he really did encourage me a lot in that process. I was not confident in my ability to be a leader, nor unfortunately, embarrassingly, and I do talk about this a little bit in the book that I wrote, I also had embraced some unfortunate perspectives of people who thought women shouldn't really be leaders as well. So I kind of had that doubt in my mind too, that who am I? I'm a young woman. I can't do that, which I know sounds so antiquated. It's the reality of where my head was at back then.
Gotcha. So can you give us maybe two specific giant wins, giant successes that you orchestrated
From that time?
Yeah.
Well, the first one was just basically building that software kind of on my own, not really on my own time, but I just did it on my own initiative. And part of it was actually during that time, my husband and I started a family. So I went to my boss and I said, I'm not putting my kid in daycare every single day for 40 to 50 hours a week. Not that I have anything against daycare, but I just wanted more time. So I asked him if I could work from home. And so he allowed me to work from home part-time. And then I was in the office part-time, and I got a second phone line installed. I had a dial-up internet. But because I was at home during that time, it actually gave me a little more freedom. I wasn't embroiled in office politics. And so that gave me the freedom to really build the application, the software application. So I think that was a big win, just in taking that time to build the software application and make it something that could grow. We could add new clients to it. It wasn't just for us. It was scalable. So that would be one win. Second win, I guess it was just being willing to kind of step up to the challenge and being willing to accept the responsibility that I was given.
That's a great win. Now, a couple failures.
Oh, goodness, yeah. Well, I didn't recognize the potential of the company. I probably should have negotiated a little bit more of a percentage of ownership during that time. So that was, not a win. I also walked away from my crime victim services software company too, because I was too busy. So I just didn't recognize the value of those business models.
Gotcha. What would you do differently if you could go back?
Yeah, I would understand more about what I did, the value of what I had. But I mean, how can you say that? Because you learn along the way, and I've learned so many things, in 2003. So that was 2000. In 2003, I convinced my family to open a coffee shop. Wasn't the best business model to open, but I wanted something that I had more control over instead of sharing it with other owners and other managers. And also it was more, people oriented. So what I didn't recognize is I always wanted to be people oriented. It was that social work part of me, right? But I didn't recognize the power of software to also be very people oriented. So I didn't really understand it.
Right. I think that's a great kind of transition.
Okay.
Take us through that transition from, corporate office leadership to jumping out, completely switching industries. What kind of gave you the bug for that?
I worked at 3 different coffee shops when I was in college, so I just loved the coffee shop atmosphere. I worked at one in Anderson, Indiana, one in Indianapolis, and one in Dayton, Ohio. Absolutely loved the vibe and the atmosphere, and I also knew that Lima didn't have anything like that, so there was a gap at the time. There had been a coffee shop in Lima, but it wasn't open. It didn't last for more than a few years. So there was absolutely no gourmet coffee available in Lima. So I thought, this is a great gap. I thought the profit margins were higher than they actually were. So another misunderstanding, another error. But I still was working at my staffing pro that whole time. So I didn't leave my staffing pro. We actually were acquired by Paychex in 2013. We were acquired by Paychex, which is a giant corporation, and I stayed there through 2017. So I was there the whole time that was my full-time job. And then the coffee shop was kind of my side gig.
Interesting. So you said you opened the coffee shop in 2003, right? Mm-hmm. Can you kind of take us through maybe some of the early learning in the first 2 years of you opening that coffee shop? Because I know there has to be so much.
Yes. Well, early learning, how to grow. I didn't know I was learning this until later. So I didn't learn a lot the first 2 years because we were just reacting all the time. The learning happened later after I reflected on it. Right scaling your business. So a couple mistakes we made, our prices were too low. We had too many customers, not enough profit margin. And so I just said, well, we need to grow. So I kept adding employees. What I should have done was increase prices. So that was a big mistake I made. The other mistake was, understanding the limits of your market. We were in downtown Lima. Our market wasn't that big. The number of people that would be willing to get coffee in downtown Lima was much smaller than the population. So recognizing that your market is not everybody. Who is it? Who is willing to come downtown and experience that? That's a limited number of people.
What are some ways that you can kind of take those factors into account now and kind of solve those or find the answers to those questions? Yeah,
and that's what we've been trying to do. We started to look for opportunities for business lines that weren't limited to the area. And so we started selling gift baskets online. gift baskets filled with coffee and baked goods. And those have been popular, and they've helped us fill in some of the gaps, especially when we have slow times during the year, or the walk-in traffic isn't great. That product line basically is limited to the entire domestic U.S. market. So, there's really not a lot of limit there, and that gives us potential for growth. But I've kind of lost the question.
When you mentioned like slow times during the coffee industry, are there certain times every year that it's going to be slower than others? What time of the year is that? And like, what do you think factors into that?
Yeah, great question. One is August and September. And I think part of that is that everyone's going back to school and just kind of overwhelmed with all the other events that are going on. Mm-hmm. And then the other one is January and February. And those are just because people are, first of all, drunk on Christmas. So they're like over it. And then secondly, the weather's horrible. People aren't getting out and about as much.
I'd be interested to know, because you mentioned not being able to not having your prices right when you opened, and being underpriced. That's not the first time we've heard that from someone who started a business. When you come in, you're very ambitious, wanting to serve as many people as possible, you keep your prices low. Yeah, and they learn that lesson. What's someone who is starting a business and wants to make sure that they're pricing their stuff properly? Is there a metric to follow there, or a tool to use, or anything like that you use today?
Oh, great question. Of course, looking at your competition is huge. And then deciding, am I going to be at the top of the market, middle of the market, or the low cost? And if you're a new business, I think it's easier to offer something unique and high quality and not try to compete at the low cost level. But of course, it's just up to the business model. So, of course, there's times like when we came out with our gift basket line, we did start prices a little bit lower just to get some exposure. And we didn't know how interested people would be. But then over time, we've raised the prices, so it's more of a premium item. So I don't know. The other thing that we did is decided how many employees do we want to have, and what is our growth rate? So kind of testing it out. Like if I spend $1,000 on Google Ads, do I see an increase and like an equivalent increase in sales? Or is it just like once I spend $200, I see the same amount as if I spend $1,000? So then you kind of see, where your market kind of stops at least for the time being, and you stick with the $200 ad, budget for a while, and then over time maybe you increase it. So kind of just doing some like A/B tests to figure out, how many people really are interested. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. Can you kind of, I guess, take us through the transition? You mentioned the gift baskets, but that wasn't right away, correct? That was years down the road. Can you kind of take us through how that started and what sparked that idea?
Well, we used to have a full-time baker. In fact, we had 2 people in the bakery. And so I was always looking, because I felt like we weren't producing enough to support the number of people that we had working in the bakery. So I was always like figuring out how can we get more production and more sales out of this. And they made some really cool items like some mini breads and brownies. And so I thought, well, let me just see what I can make out of this stuff. So I basically literally just walked around our basement where we have all our storage and in our bakery. And I started putting things together to try to figure out what I could do with my excess capacity. So basically the strategy was, what can I do with my excess capacity so that I'm bringing in more revenue?
Right.
So we did that, and I had an intern that came in who said, why don't you list them on Etsy? And so I said, okay, go for it. So he listed them on Etsy for me. We sold 15 the first year. I was like super excited about that because we listed them right before Christmas. So I sold about like 15 to 20 over Christmas. And then over time, it just kept growing, but it really grew during the COVID era in 2020. We ended up doing, I think, over $100,000 just in gift baskets that year, which was like 3 to 4 times what we had been doing before, just because people were at home. So increased demand really went crazy. But when did we start? I think we started 2016.
Gotcha. Okay, so 2016 started selling gift baskets.
Mm-hmm.
You really reach a height in 2020. Mm-hmm. What would you give as far as advice-wise to people who maybe have a brick and mortar and they want to break into the e-commerce, selling things online? Because those are very different things and they're very hard to do, especially for established businesses. And so can you kind of give some advice and maybe some tips and tricks on how to do that?
Yeah, I think the software is really important, the software that you choose. So choose software that matches your skill level. And I love the software packages that will allow you to publish the website just right from the catalog. So I do recommend to keep costs down and also because it's easier to manage. Don't have a third party create your website for the e-commerce. Use one of the built-in e-commerce sites like Shopify or Square where you have your catalog. Maybe you also use it as your point of sale, and then you can just publish those same products to the internet. The other thing I would say is don't try to publish everything. Be selective and choose those things that you think people will really like. And then also really look into search engine optimization. Try to understand what people are searching for. That you might need to ask for help from others with it. But even just adding the right wording to your product listings and your product titles, and adding the right tags can make a huge difference. And anybody can do that.
Right.
When we published on Etsy, I looked up what I thought people would search for our products and then went to the listings that came up first to look at what phrases they used. And then I pretty much would mimic some of the phrases that they used in those listings that popped up first. So that's not rocket science,
Yeah.
Anybody can do that.
Just reverse engineering the most successful people in your field. Really smart. Why do you think so little people do that?
Well, it does take time. It takes time and devoted attention. And it is hard when you're a small business and you're doing everything. You're doing the accounting, you're doing the hiring, you're dealing with customers. It can be hard to get away and find that time to do it. So, I do recommend setting aside time to really work on that. I think that's one reason. And I think another reason is people are intimidated by technology, don't you think? And they feel like it's harder than it needs to be.
Would agree.
Your old window cleaner is trash. Ditch it and get Dudley on duty. It's what the pros use. So you've obviously done a lot of different things over the years. You've even going back to college, you jumped between majors, and then when you got out of college, you jumped between careers and running a business and running a different business, brick and mortar, online.
Yeah.
What are some of the through lines through all the different career paths you've taken over the years? What are some pieces of advice that are universal across different business ventures and things like that?
Yeah, I would say get to know yourself and get to know what is different and weird about you. That's where you're really going to make a difference. I also made the mistake when I started the coffee house of thinking, I need to copy the Starbucks model, or I need to copy, whatever coffee brand you can think of model. And we wasted a lot of time and money doing that. Spent a lot of time on advertising that wasn't, necessary because we were trying to mimic the big brands. But if we had instead been truer to ourselves, like what's different about us, and just celebrated that, I think we would have been more successful from day one, instead of trying to mimic other models. So I would say definitely getting to know yourself, working within your strengths. Don't try to be everything to everybody. Say no to things that don't match your mission, and yet still be open to new opportunities at the same time. So, you have to it's not an exact science, it's an art.
Yeah, it's a balancing act.
Yeah.
So you mentioned other coffee industry businesses.
Yeah.
How do you navigate your marketing, especially budget-wise, because these national companies have endless amount of money to spend on their marketing?
Yes.
How do you target your market and try to sell to them as you are on a budget?
Yeah, great question. I kind of mentioned that I had made some mistakes with marketing. One was I had bought TV ads for the region and spent a lot of money on those, and realized a lot of people were viewing that weren't ever going to buy from me. So I had to be more selective about where I spent my marketing dollars. Now, honestly, we do almost everything organic. So part of that is I am not investing as much time in the business, so I'm letting my employees handle everything. And I've been training my employees a lot over the last few years. They've been doing great. They've been stepping up into multiple leadership and management roles, but we weren't really ready to like go gangbusters. So I was wanting to let things grow organically. Does that make sense? Yeah. So we've really been focusing more on social media, on website search engine optimization, email newsletters, things like that, things that are more just to our customer base. We also, Now Marketing, we partner with Now Marketing, and they manage our social media for us. And then Shopify is our e-commerce platform, and they have a built-in newsletter option. And so we try to do a newsletter about every week, and that also has a blog. So we'll try to write on the blog as well.
So then for your newsletter, you say you try to do it every week. What kind of content do you put into it, and how do you guys come up with those ideas?
Yeah, well, one of my employees, thankfully, has taken that over, and she's doing a great job. She just recognizes that people want to know about our products, you know? So we don't, if it was me, I would probably try to make it more complicated than it is, and I would need to write like an original article every week and all that kind of stuff. I don't do that. I'm getting my PhD right now, so I don't have time. And so what she does is she just picks out products of the month, coffee of the month, what are our specials, what is some of our favorite gift baskets, and then profiles about the employees, which I think is fun. Get to know one of our employees, get to know what their favorite drinks are, things like that. So it's really just all about educating the customer about our products and who we are.
Yeah, and congratulations for getting your PhD.
Oh, thank you.
May I ask what you're getting it in?
Organizational leadership.
That is awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Who are you getting that through?
Indiana Wesleyan.
Nice. How'd you come to them for your...
I went to a lot. I got rejected by Ohio State.
Really?
Yes. I'm not bitter. No, it's okay. It wasn't meant to be. It would have been a full-time PhD gig. But I also am a Michigan fan, so it would have been hard to go to Ohio State.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
What inspired you to decide to get your PhD? Was there one thing where you're like, this is why I need it? Or was it kind of over time you realized it's something you wanted to do?
Yeah, I think I started to get to know myself a little bit better, and I realized that part of the reason I started all these businesses is because I'm a little bit of an experimenter. And so I realized that, wow, that part of that is just I'm experimenting, and why not do that as a full-time gig? So I'm hoping to be able to conduct research and, experiential research in the area of entrepreneurship. And I also think that my experience in the past has kind of led me to this point as well. I'm someone who likes to start businesses, but doesn't necessarily want to manage them forever, just because I like the variety.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that getting my PhD will allow me to kind of just try something new and do some more research in that field.
No, I respect that. And then you're married.
Yeah.
How has your husband supported you with all of your ventures?
Yeah. Well, he was willing to quit his job and run the coffee shop when we first opened, which was great. So he did that. And he also goes down there frequently still. He does like to get his free coffee as well from the coffee shop.
As he should.
Right. He was one of the original investors financially as well. And he helps... He loves to get to know the staff, and we have co-working members as well. He gets to know them. So he's just, very supportive. But we decided that he should go off and figure his own career because he kind of got tired of managing the store as well. So he did that like about 10 years ago.
But I think it's awesome that he wanted to help you in the time of your need and put his career aside to help you grow. I think that's awesome.
Yes, it was great. And both of my brothers have done that as well at different times when we needed help. So
that's amazing. So obviously you came up during like the Wild West of software development of the online space as an entrepreneur, and now you're kind of in a position where you're running a business that uses some of those tools and things that maybe you would have developed 20, 30 years ago.
Right.
How has it changed and I guess, with your perspective change of going from someone who creates those software to now uses those software implements? How has that kind of shift in perspective affected you and affected your outlook on the whole?
Yeah, good. Well, first of all, I haven't completely given it up. So my son is a computer science major at University of Cincinnati. So we've been working on a new application that is knowledge management software for small businesses. We don't know where that's going to go. We're about 75% there, and he's very busy. And so we're trying to figure out, like, do we really want to take it to the 100% level? So kind of dabbling in that. But also what I've learned is that it honestly doesn't change that much. You know, software is all about fitting it to what you need it to do. And I remember even fighting it when I was working as a full-time developer. Everybody would come out and say, oh, look at this new software. You have to use XML, or you have to use SOAP, or you have to use, JavaScript or whatever the new language, the new buzzword was. And I thought to myself, is it solving the problems for our customers or not? That's what it needs to do. Like, I don't care if it uses the latest and greatest technology unless that technology can help me solve the problems better. And in many cases, it did not. Right? It didn't really change the needle. Now, of course, with AI, that is a new landscape. And we've had AI for a long time. The difference is that the software has advanced so much that it's just much more easier to use and a lot more powerful. So in terms of my perspective today, I would say that software developers and software companies are still not emphasizing the user experience enough. They need to invest more in usability, invest more in the end user experience. And I've also noticed that a lot of software companies will get to a certain point and then try to get as much cash out of their customers as possible, whether it's because they had to bring in venture capitalist investors, or I don't know why, but they'll just try to extract all the value out of their software without improving it at all. So I feel like we're still making the same mistakes in the software industry that were made like 20 years ago, of just not focusing on the user experience, not doing what provides value to the customer, and just trying to like get as much money out of it without truly creating value, which I know you guys know in your business, you have to create value. It's not about like the fluff, right?
I'm curious, because you come from the tech space, the coding world. What is your take on AI in business today?
Yeah, I do think it's very powerful, but I think we have to use it. We have to know how to use it. AI is, to me, like a database. So I can use a database really poorly. You know what I mean? I can put my data in there in a horrible format. I can have duplicate data everywhere. I can have really crappy data in a database. The same thing happens with AI. I can't just accept whatever it spits out at me. I need to be knowledgeable enough to frame that AI output in a way that will actually serve me in my business. So I do think it's powerful, and we need to learn how to use it. But I know the way that a lot of us use it today, we're just experimenting. We don't really even know what we can do with it yet, don't you think?
Right. I would agree.
What do you think?
I mean, we're using it pretty much daily. It seems like. I mean, rarely do I go a day without using it for something. But a lot of it, is data driven for me. I'm not a spreadsheets and numbers guy, so AI really helps me out there. Yeah. And I mean, it's an amazing tool. It used to take hours, now takes minutes. Yeah. And that's incredible. I think a lot of people, everybody says it, but if you're not using AI, you're going to get left behind for sure. And I've seen a real struggle, especially with the older, it's not even older generation. It really is like Gen X and older, which is, I mean, they just struggle to use it. They, for whatever reason, they don't really accept it. They don't really try it. I think maybe that'll change. But right now, I mean, millennials and younger, you're just going to get crushed on different tasks because it doesn't take you hardly any time at all. Yeah. One thing that is interesting, we were experimenting with some AI detecting software. I think that needs to get better, because you can pretty much tell the AI model, like, hey, don't let any software detect that you wrote this. Right. And it'll do it. Right. Like it's pretty great. So I think some of that detection software needs to get better. I mean, you're in school, right? Yeah. So I can't imagine being a teacher or anything right now and trying to sift through some of that stuff. I know there's tricks, but I don't see how you'd stop anything or.
Right. I've come to the point now where I'm grading based on professionalism and basically what I would expect to see out of my employees at that level. And if they used AI in such a way that it was either really obvious or just illogical, they're not gonna get a good grade. Like I think unfortunately some of us who have been teaching, we're just checking the boxes. Did they do it?
Right.
That's not enough. Did they do it correctly? And were they using critical thinking? That's what we need to look for now. And unfortunately, there's a lot of, I don't know why, but just a lot of shortcuts being taken. And when I look at the output, I'm like, well, you check the boxes on the assignment. If I was your employer, I would be really upset with what you created. You know?
Yeah, I'm an English minor, and so I did so much writing in school.
Yeah.
And my fiance is in nursing school, but she had to take an English class. And some of the discussion posts from her classmates and things like that, where I was like, they didn't even, like, they copy and pasted the prompt in.
Right.
With like,
right.
You got to put in a little bit of effort. Right. I feel like, you know, there's a couple steps before you hit post, right?
Right.
But it's a process, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. It's a whole new world, isn't it? It's like a brave new world. I feel like it is in the 90s with the .com boom and bust bubble, whatever we want to call it. Yeah. And the fact that, we have websites now. You know, it's in my opinion, it's the same thing. Like websites, now it's AI. We have AI now. So.
We have the tool, now what do we do with it?
Yes.
You know, like, how do we make it work for us instead of just crush us, you know?
Yeah, right. So true.
So you teach. What exactly do you teach?
Yeah, I teach business management, entrepreneurship, leadership, global business. I think that's about it.
College?
Yes.
Oh, no, I think that's super awesome.
Thanks.
So what is some advice that you give to your students when they are thinking about careers and their next steps and going out into the business world?
Yeah. We do that. We have a whole class on that, our leadership class. And what I want them to do is get to know themselves, like I said, really understand their strengths, improve their emotional intelligence. So we do an emotional intelligence assessment and kind of talk about that, and then learn how to network appropriately. So I have a required assignment where they have to go and conduct a couple networking interviews with various people. Just that's kind of the main things that I focus on. And then, of course, we talk about a lot of strategies, about motivational strategies of how to get to know your employees, how to manage them, how to manage up, right? How to be an effective follower and really contribute to the success of the organization.
What inspired you to start teaching?
I had gotten my MBA after we were acquired by Paychex. The company was acquired by Paychex, and it was really fun being a startup tech company. Then all of a sudden we were dumped into a giant corporation that had been around since the 70s. So I only made it there for 3 years. I couldn't handle the corporate environment. And so during that time I got my MBA, and when I left Paychex, I started a couple other businesses, but I was kind of floundering. So honestly, the teaching was a little bit like, let's try it out, because I love academic stuff. But also, like, let's get some money coming in while I'm doing all these random projects over here. Yeah. So that's kind of how it got started.
Going back to the emotional intelligence, how does anybody know what their emotional intelligence level is? Is there any like quick practical things or advice that you can give to somebody to figure out where they're at and how they can improve?
Okay. Well, I do use the book EQ 2.0, which is by Bradbury and Graves, I believe. And it has a really good assessment in there. When I took it, I was shocked at how bad I was. Sarcasm isn't an appropriate method of communication? Oh, I thought it was. So I realized that I probably overused sarcasm and various other things. So that assessment in that book really did help me personally. But I also think asking other people for feedback is really a really, effective way. Going up to a coworker and saying, hey, I want to improve my emotional intelligence. What is one thing that you think I can do? Or how am I being perceived? I really care about all of you. Do you know that? Is that coming through? That kind of thing.
It makes a lot of sense.
Should we do it right now?
You want.
That's all right.
guess maybe we could transition a little bit into one of our last segments here on the show.
Okay.
And it's just called a quick fire question segment. So all we do is we ask you a question and you just answer as quick as you can.
Do I get to ask questions back?
If you want.
I'll see when we're done. I'll see if I have some that I can ask.
Okay. So the first question is, do you drink coffee or tea to start the day?
Coffee.
Just 1 cup?
16 ounces exactly.
16 ounces exactly.
Smart.
Awesome. What is your favorite local business besides your own?
Oh, wow. That is a hard question. I mean, I have so many. I love jalapenos. I mean,
Amen.
Yeah. Okay, good. They have the best tacos. So.
I'm from Ada, and we have a jalapenos in Ada too. And it's if I can get there in a day, that's where I go.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. What is one word to describe entrepreneurship?
Risk.
Awesome. Why is that the word that came to mind?
Because you're just jumping in there, seeing if you can meet a need in the market. It's all about trying it out and seeing what happens.
That's amazing. What is the biggest business myth?
That if you're good at business, you're going to succeed. Because it's about matching the market. If the market is not there, I don't care how good you are at managing a business, doesn't matter. We've seen so many stories in history of people who had amazing ideas. They didn't get them to the market at the right time. Maybe they were ahead of their time. And so being able to match your idea to what the market needs at the right time and at the right price is the thing. And so you're going to have as many failures as successes.
Yeah. Walt Disney's my favorite example of that.
Mm-hmm.
Such a good one.
Yeah.
All right. If you could maybe take us into the future a little bit, what is kind of on your horizon as far as the next few years, whether it's business or, whatever's on your agenda? What's coming up?
Well, I'm going to hopefully be writing my dissertation over the next 2 years and then graduating with my PhD. And I will be looking for opportunities to conduct research. So the sky is open. I am also trying to figure out the software company that my son and I created is called Empower. And so we're potentially going to apply to be a Microsoft supported company as part of their small business accelerator. So that might also be something that we're doing, but I'm not really sure. And then also my son just had my first grandbaby, so I'm going to be spending lots of time with my grand.
Congratulations.
That's amazing. Congrats.
That's awesome. What is your dissertation going to be on?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
It might be on followership. It might be on entrepreneurship.
What does followership mean?
Followership is the idea that followers in the organization can be just as impactful as leaders. So what is the nature of the impact of followers? Because we've always measured the impact of leaders, but we've never really taken any time to research the impact of followers.
I know it's your decision, but you should do that.
Okay.
That's my
That's
input.
inspiring.
That sounds like a
I
really
think that'd be
fascinating
awesome.
conversation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very
There's
good. I will
so
take
much writing on entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Even followership. I've never heard that term before.
Okay. I will definitely take that under advisement. Actually, you're, I think, the second or third person to tell me that. So it's definitely something that I think people kind of hits a nerve with people.
Yeah, I'm extremely curious. Like, I want to read it now. That's interesting.
Okay, very good.
So awesome. And then I guess one of the last questions I have is there any sort of quote or maybe a phrase or something that you've taken maybe from growing up all the way to now that you kind of cling to?
Honestly, you guys will think I'm cheesy, but it's probably like, Jesus loves me, this I know.
I don't think that's cheesy at all.
That's something that I learned as a young child, and realizing that just gives me a lot of confidence to go out there and do things, make mistakes, know that it's not all about me. It's about, loving your neighbor as yourself, loving God. That all inspires me to do what I do and kind of gives me the foundation to, like I said, fail, make mistakes, and it's okay.
Yeah. How important is your faith to you?
It's very important. Yeah, it's pretty much what motivates me it has motivated me to start most of the businesses that I've started. Just a desire to kind of use my skills for the benefit of others and also supporting my own values as well.
Oh, that's so amazing.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, do you have any questions for us?
Yes, I do. Okay. So since you asked me about one phrase that stuck with me for most of my life, which I think is an excellent question, would you guys be willing to answer that?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah. My grandfather was a really important person in my life. And when he passed away, we were going through some of the stuff in his office, and he used to work in academia. He worked at ONU, and he had a plaque from his desk when he used to work at ONU, and it read, good men do things for themselves, great men create things for others. Oh, and I've always just been fascinated by the implications of that phrase. I have looked for where it's from, and I've never been able to find like an origin of the quote anywhere. But it's always stuck with me as like, if I'm working to create something bigger than myself, then that's a noble pursuit. And I've always tried to do that.
That's a great quote.
Thanks.
That's amazing. I have quite a few, but one of my favorite ones that I wish I would have taken more seriously earlier in my life is your network is your net worth. I truly believe that who you know is way more valuable than any number that's going to show up in your bank account. Because, you know, when life throws its curveballs and you go through the ups and downs, usually it's more valuable to have that one person that can solve that one issue in your contact list in your phone than a pile of money. Because that person can they can bring monetary value, or sometimes they can just give you the perfect advice, or maybe because of their background or what they do, they're the only one person in the country that can solve that issue for you.
Yeah.
And so that's where I think the value really lies is in the network.
That's good.
Yeah. So my grandma, she told me you'll never grow if you never try. She is always taking risks, always putting yourself out there, because if you don't even attempt to do it, you'll never know if it works out or not. And I stand for what she lives by. Like, I take that into heart wholeheartedly. I think that's the most important thing you can do. Take risks. If they don't work out, you learn. Right. Everything's learning.
That's great. Yeah, I love it if we can frame failures as just learning opportunities. Love it. Okay, can I ask just one more question?
Absolutely.
Of course.
All right. So what do you love the most about your job and or doing the podcast?
Ooh, I love getting an opportunity to be creative. I'm someone who, you know, if I have to do the same thing over and over and over again, I can do it and I can be efficient, but I will, you know, kind of shut myself off, you know. But if I can be creative, if I can put myself out there and put my own spin on things and put myself into what I'm working on, I can be more passionate and be more outgoing about it.
Yeah.
My favorite thing has to be working just with these two in our marketing department, whether it's here on the show or in our daily activities. We all play to each other's strengths. We get along extremely well. And I think that, you know, we give each other a lot of grace when we mess up. And I probably mess up more than anybody else. But we get along really well. And so working with a team that gets along well is great. I don't think we're the best in the world at anything that we do. However, we get along and we tackle projects together. And so that is one of my favorite things that we do.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Along with, I love doing this podcast. I love meeting new people. I love hearing their stories and their upbringing and how they got to where they are, because everyone we have had on here has been so successful, including you. And it's nice to hear how the downfalls that have happened and you still were able to grow. I think that's very inspiring, and it shows that you guys are passionate for what you do. And I respect that.
That's really cool. Thank you.
Well, if that's it, thank you so much.
I actually had one more question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What made you decide to write a book?
Well, I had a year of being open to new opportunities where I thought I'm just going to like kind of chill, but be open to what people offer for me to do. I'm not going to go really out and pursue things. And so I was I'm a member of, I was a member of USOSPE, which is the U.S. Association for Entrepreneurship Education or something like that. And somebody posted on this forum, hey, we're looking for people that can write stories about like their entrepreneurship journeys, et cetera, et cetera. And so I took that as a sign. And so I submitted the proposal and he came back and said yes. And it was also during the year of our 20th anniversary at the meeting place. So it just kind of like correlated with what we were doing and going back and examining and thinking about the history and all that. So it just kind of was the right opportunity at the right time.
Yeah. How long did it take?
It took me longer than it should have, unfortunately. I gave them a date and I did not meet it. Let's see, from January, and then I think it was done in November.
Awesome.
Do you see yourself writing anything more in the future, book-wise?
I hope so. I really want to write books, which is one of the reasons I'm getting my PhD. Mm-hmm. So I would just really love writing books about all kinds of topics. So
That's awesome.
What's this book about?
It's just about my story, a lot of what I told you today. And then it's also about the lessons I learned about trying to do like a social entrepreneurial endeavor in an area that was a little bit economically depressed. So I ended up doing a nonprofit / for-profit. And so it's a little bit about that journey and understanding kind of the limitations of entrepreneurship when it comes to economic development. It's a great tool, but it doesn't solve everything. So it's kind of about my personal journey and then just also the economic impacts of entrepreneurship, and especially in kind of not depressed, I hate to use that word, that sounds really bad, areas with less investment, let's put it that way.
Yeah. Where can people get a copy for themselves?
You can get it on my website, jenniferbrogee.com, or I do have some at the meeting place.
Awesome.
Or you can go to the publisher, but it's easier to just go to jenniferbrogee.com.
Right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming in
today,
Jennifer.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful talking to all of you.
Yeah, it was awesome getting to know you.
Yeah, you too.
Great.
Yeah. We just want to say thank you to iHeartRadio for giving us the space. So we'll see you in the next one.